This meeting of the public safety meeting to order. The main item on this is two local laws that we looked at last term. One amending Chapter 73 this is on dog licensing. So we want to make some changes in the dog licensing amendment, section of the law. And then there was another law which deals with broadening the protections or penalties for people who have other animals other than dogs, because the law refers only, even though it's mostly about dogs, it refers only to dogs and amended that a little bit. But anyway, on the licensing, the primary thing we did there was to, we're offering the option of allowing an owner to license a dog for up to 3 years, providing they have, the rabies vaccinations, which are 3-year vaccinations. So that's really just a matter of convenience instead of having to upgrade your license every year. They can do it once every 3 years. So if you have a copy of this, if you look there at the bottom of the first page on local law A of 2019, we removed the period 1 year and added 1 to 3 years, but that's dependent on the date of expiration of the rabies vaccination. And I've added, and I don't know if that's actually necessary, I've added that the fee for 2-year license is twice the annual fee, and the fee for a 3-year license is 3 times the annual fee. Then the annual fee is established at $8 per dog, to which amount shall be added $6 if the dog is not spayed or neutered. Now, that unfortunately raised a question in my mind today, and if you look at section C, it says, in addition to the license fee established by 73-220A, each applicant for a dog license shall pay a surcharge of $1 if the dog is altered and $3 if the dog is unaltered. I was reading that as altered meaning spayed or neutered.
Correct.
But we're already charging people a $6 fee if the dog is not neutered or spayed. So I guess I
believe that's a state regulation.
Okay.
And I believe that money goes to the state.
Okay.
Laura would know that better,
Right.
but I'm pretty sure that this is just breaking out what portions go to the city, what portions are the minimum, and what portions go to the state.
Okay.
So
That's fine.
the state gets money for those grants and things like that for the altered and unaltered.
Now, do you know, well, I can ask her, because that doesn't really raise any question, but you have section E, an applicant desiring a purebred license pays another surcharge of $30. And then there's a late fee if the license is ever renewed 30 days past the due date. So that was the principal thing, and that is offering a 3-year license or a 2-year license, depending on how the animal is vaccinated for rabies. So I don't know there's much else to deal with on this, unless someone has some other.
Do you have any way in, Gina?
No, I've had so many people ask me why that's not offered. And the
Yeah.
software does a lot for it, so already, so there's no changes.
I guess
on
I'll have
that
to ask
part.
this question too, since we do add this, the $6 fee with it, if someone comes in and licenses a dog today, and 1 year from today comes in and licenses a dog again, they're gonna pay $8 plus $6 for if the dog has not been altered. Are we gonna charge $6 every, 3 times 6 if somebody takes out a 3-year license?
Well, the way it's currently set is you pay a $10 fee if your dog is fixed. And
Okay,
you pay $18 if your dog is unfixed.
Okay.
So all that would do is just, if they do a 3-year and the dog is fixed, it would be $30.
Okay.
If your dog is not fixed, it would be, 18 times 3, which I'm not gonna do in my head at this point. But, it doesn't, the computer program
Oh,
that
I
the city
see, I
uses
see.
breaks everything out for you.
All right, I just didn't realize it was, okay.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, all
Oh, do we
right.
want to?
So it's just the same exact fee, however many times, whether it's 2
Okay,
years
so
or 3
that,
years.
but that's, we don't need to specify that.
No.
That's an annual.
No,
Do you want to clarify for councils going forward in sub C that the surcharge, if we just put a line in that this is a mandated by state by ag and markets? We wanna put
before you
so-
do that, check with Laura,
Okay.
All right.
because I know
100%.
that
I
the
think
state
you're-
gets portions.
Yeah, I think you're right on the
But-
money, that is the
yeah.
ag and markets portion.
Yeah.
You're right, without, I'm not 100%
Yeah.
either. Well, maybe that would, clarification would help.
All right.
And I don't honestly think anyone, I've never had anyone ask me about it.
Yeah.
I did the research when we talked about increasing the fees and adjusting the fees as far as redemption fees and stuff that went around. I contacted local municipalities to see what others are charging. The town of Amsterdam charges $5 if your dog is licensed and 15, or fixed, and 15 if it's not. So we're kind of right around. Anyone who does complain, I'm like, well, call Schenectady, they're 25.
Okay.
They're, so if anything, most people don't complain about the fee, it's complaining about having to license their dog in the first place. So,
All right. So, did any other council members have any?
I just picked up on what you said, because I wrote it down. Each license issued shall be valid for a period of 1 to 3 years, and you said up to. You realize there's a difference there?
Well, yes, I do, but I mean, the language, you either get a 1-year license, 2-year license, or 3-year license. You think that should be worded differently to be clearer?
To me, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think it should read for a period of up to 1 to 3 years. It's very clear.
Okay.
Why does it say no, it's so hard?
Well, it says for a period of 1 to 3 years.
Right, so you either,
Well, you got a choice.
oh, that's right,
right, 1, 2, or 3.
that's what you get.
Right.
When they go downstairs, when they go to the clerk's office, they say, I like to buy a dog license for 1 year. I like to buy a dog license for 2 years. I want a dog license for 3 years. They have a choice. Right?
Yes.
I mean, I've seen them in the clerk's office do that many times.
Well, I mean, I threw in the
I don't want to make
fee,
it complicated for the people.
twice the annual fee for 2 years and 3 times.
I believe that Gilderland and Half Moon, their language is similar to this.
All right. Well, okay, so we'll,
I wouldn't touch it.
all right, well, we get to that test. Thank you, sir.
Why is purebred license getting a surcharge of $30?
That's required by the state. I don't know why.
State fee?
Yeah, I think it's for breeding, because I believe that they take on the assumption that if you file for a purebred license, that you're going to breed the animal, which means that money goes into the same fund where the $3 fee goes for unaltered animals, to contribute towards grants and things like that to help with spay neuter programs. Because I live in the town of Amsterdam, and it's the same, like if I wanted, my dog is a purebred, but he's fixed. If I wanted him to have a purebred license, I would have had to pay the additional $30.
But it's not a mandate. You don't
It is
have
not
that.
mandatory, nope.
You just want that showpiece.
Right.
You're gonna show the dog, you wanna have that
Right.
license.
Yep. And I don't know, I mean, Laura would know, but I've never seen anyone
Get a purebred
get
license.
it. Yeah,
But if they have papers, you don't need that.
exactly, exactly.
Just another catch by the state.
Yes, exactly.
All right, is there anything else on local law A, animal dog licensing? All right, local law B, section 1 states the purpose of the amendment is to add the word animal to Article 1 and add a subsection to the prohibited acts section to be able to deal with persons who have animals other than dogs and who may be abusive or specifically might abandon them, or which I guess is, you can imagine, more something other than animals other than dogs.
Yeah, It basically is broadening our enforcement action, and Gina goes to places and people are abandoning the apartment, and we walk in and all of a sudden there's a snake there, like, so we don't have any enforcement action, and they abandon the snake, we have to find out somewhere to take care of this thing or keep it or whatever, it's,
Correct.
now we encumber the expense and whatnot, so we should have a mechanism to not only charge this person for cruelty and some enforcement mechanism to go after them
Right.
for the cost that it's now gonna.
The one I have currently is on John Street. They moved out, left 2 cats behind that were emaciated and, had wounds and things like that. They went into a rescue, but they had to be pulled out by somebody. So you can't just have the landlord opening the door and letting them out on the street. So they went into a rescue, and the rescue will do what they need to do. But in the meantime, these people should be charged with that. They think that this is acceptable.
Right, under the current language, it only covers dogs.
Right, right.
But the ag and markets has since changed the definition of animal to just about
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
So every kind of critter out there, so we're trying to mirror what's in ag and markets right now. and
Right.
Update our laws that are probably from 1950 something.
Well, we don't have an abandonment law in the city code. A lot of the research I did, and a lot of other municipalities do, this language is from the city of Gloversville. Theirs seemed to be the simplest and the most basic for people to understand. Some of the other ones were extremely wordy and cumbersome, and theirs was to the point. If you move out of your apartment and you leave an animal behind, whether it be in a garage, whether it be in a backyard, or whether it be in the apartment, it's considered abandonment. So this way, it'll bring that money, that revenue into the city. I've had 5 of these cases in the last 6 months, and 3 of them, all the money, all the fines are gonna go to the state, when we can be taking that in, since we're the ones taking on those fees. We're the ones trying to find rescues and rehabs and things like that to take these animals on.
Gina, 73-3, number 6.
With 6.
Yeah, allowing any dog, whether leashed or unleashed, to be in any restaurant, grocery, or commercial establishment that sells food for human consumption. Then it says, this prohibition shall not apply to a senile dog. Wait,
Correct.
this is contradictory, ain't it? First of all, you're allowing a dog, whether leashed or unleashed, to be in a restaurant, and then over here you
No,
say,
then
No, you're not allowing it. Only a seeing eye dog can be allowed.
If you, under 73-4 prohibited acts, all I was doing there was
Changing the language.
changing the language to make.
The primer for
make it
that is
consistent.
73-4A, that no person who is the owner of a dog or has custody, and then sub 6.
Yeah, shall allow a dog.
So that's one of the prohibitions under 73-4A.
Will not allow
So
a
the
dog.
lead language is 73-4A, and sub 6 is the, the following acts are declared to be violations of this section, so then
oh, I
sub 6 would
see,
be,
I see.
yeah, sub 6 is the carry
It's kind of
on.
hazy there.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
you don't-
prohibited act.
Right.
This is prohibited, allowing any dog, whether
Right.
leashed or unleashed. Okay, prohibited, okay. I didn't see it.
I just have a question,
All right.
because it says dogs and animals.
Yep.
So, is it any animal?
As far as prohibitions on, you're saying in 73-40 prohibited acts, I think because we only have problems with dogs. We've never had cat chasing cars.
Simple question,
Should
should
it
it all
be-
animals?
I don't know that we've ever had a case where someone has brought in, attempted to bring an animal other than a dog into any establishment.
I think what he's saying is specifically, should we change this so it's not just dogs in this section? Is there any other animal we have a problem with in any of these prohibitions?
About cats.
We can't-
I'm reading all the allowing a dog to run unless,
Well, I'll say dog.
Yeah.
want an alligator.
Well, all of those laws are strictly, typically things that only dogs are gonna do. Most cats are not gonna go chasing after people. Most cats are not going to be on a leash or things like that.
Now, what he's saying about an alligator,
Right.
did you have somebody?
Yeah.
Should an alligator be on a leash?
We had a guy with an alligator guard, so yes, it's not too too far from the
the
spectrum.
realm of, so
Yeah.
should the prohibition,
DEC took
prohibited
care of
act
that.
say dogs or other animals?
No, because that's covered by DEC
Okay.
and ag and markets.
And shouldn't it be service animals, not just seeing eye dogs? Because you're, you know, I mean, 'cause you're discriminating against people.
Okay, so that's a city code violation, all right? That's not your Americans with Disabilities Act that would fall under your service animal, all right? So a service animal can be, but it has to be a service animal, it has to serve a purpose, and it has to behave itself. It has to engage in a manner that is acceptable. So if I bring my dog, who is my service animal, here, he is expected to sit here and mind his own business. He is not to be sniffing her, he's not to be wandering up around you, no matter what he's here for. If, what is the lady's name? She used to teach at St. Mary's. She lives on that side street there. Yes, Ms. Catugno has a seeing eye dog. If she were to come in to this meeting, her seeing eye dog would be expected to sit here and behave himself in that manner. If he starts barking and disrupting the meeting, she can be asked to remove her dog from the meeting or from wherever.
Right, but now
No matter
Alderman
what.
Russo's saying, do we have to broaden this seeing eye dogs into companion animal or
No.
to a comfort, like what we're seeing on airplanes now? Do we have to broaden this, so if somebody goes...
I just don't wanna get,
Right.
you know,
Are they now allowed to bring a emotional support cat in a
Right,
restaurant? Are they?
right.
So
That
we need to broaden that.
we would have to address that under Ag and Markets and Americans with Disabilities Act. It doesn't really make much sense. In the 8 years that I've been here, I've never had anyone call me
situation.
and say, we have a situation.
How about the people that brought the dog over to the Image Center? It was in the paper, remember?
Yeah, that was probably me.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's allowed?
Yes, I was invited to come in and teach some of the seniors.
No, once we pass this though,
It would still be allowed. The dog would not be allowed in the kitchen where the animals, where they're cooking. They would be allowed in their meeting room.
does that say this here?
it says just restaurant, grocery, and commercial establishment which sells food.
Right,
So it's only food.
right. Where their food location is, you would not allow animals in there. But they were inviting the animal in to serve a purpose for their community, for that group of people.
Right.
When he was in there, he stayed with me.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Cemetery.
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Now, I don't know, that may just be for purposes of...
Or urinating and defecating on
Yeah.
private property.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing with that. And I don't think I've ever had that issue either.
So
Okay, so we,
subset-
all right, so in the prohibited acts, basically the only thing I changed in there was trying to make the prohibited acts read consistently. I don't know if it changed anything.
I had a question, somebody asked me this question. If they walk the dog on Locust Avenue, John, I was watching this, and it's their own dog. And it goes to the bathroom in their own front yard. Do they have to pick it up?
Eventually, yes.
No. Because somebody said to me, why don't you report that, why don't they pay a fine? And I didn't know the answer to that.
Because it's their own property.
And so that's allowed, they don't have
Yes.
to- they don't have to pick it up on their own property.
Correct. Now, if it gets to a point, and that's where number 7 comes in, where the structures or enclosures which the dog is kept is unclean or unsanitary, comes in, and then we also have a section which is not covered under 73, I believe it's, I don't write this one often, it's like, it was something that was added after the fact. So basically, if there's an excessive amount of feces in the yard, they can be ticketed for that. If it's their
That was
own,
the other
because it's
question.
living in an
The neighbor
unhealthy
has
condition.
the Anchor fence,
Yep,
and she lets her 2 dogs run in the backyard.
yep, living condition for the animals, then the homeowner can be
Yeah,
ticketed
then there's a
for that.
violation of the public health law.
Right.
3786 or
Yeah.
some number of.
Yep.
And what happens in the winter months, when a lot of people don't pick up after the dog, and then you're walking on a sidewalk, and you have to play hopscotch,
Right.
because nobody wants to pick up after the dog in the winter months.
Oh, that's
Shouldn't be on
all
the
year.
sidewalk,
That's
though.
all year.
Huh?
That's
Yeah.
public property.
I'm just
So it should
talking
never
about
be on the
private
sidewalk.
property,
he's
John.
talking
That's the
private
only-
property.
I had 2 people, those are questions.
Public
When they
property
heard about this
always has to
tonight,
be.
they asked me questions, that's why I'm asking
Yep.
you tonight, because they asked me.
Sometimes it also is easier for those cases when the people come in and file a complaint. The problem is, some of the calls we get on those, no, I don't want to be involved, I don't want my name. Well,
that's right, they don't want this,
Right.
this is exactly what they told me.
Right.
You're the alderman, so
Right.
you filed a complaint.
Right.
It's my neighbor, and I don't wanna do it.
right. And sometimes it's just, I can go over and have a talk with them and say, listen, it's shared property or whatever, it's right there, can you clean up after your dog? Or if I go and find, sometimes it's just neighbor issues.
Yeah.
Where I go and there's 2 piles of poop in the whole yard.
Yeah.
And the neighbor's claiming that it's excessive and it smells.
Okay.
So.
Thank you for answering that.
You're welcome.
You're still supposed to be responsible
You are.
in the winter time and like this, so I mean, if they're not picking up after their dog and you're going for a walk and you got all this on the sidewalks, that's not proper. So the people are still supposed to pick up after their dogs, even
That's a
in the
different,
winter.
that's a different rule.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
That's the normal rule.
Yeah.
That's the regular ordinance, you can't.
That's
go
nice, that
outside.
$200 fine.
That's what the $200 fine, we're talking about within your own enclosure of your own house.
Yeah,
They're two different things,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, it's 30 below 3 days in a row, we can stay there for a couple days.
In my yard, yeah.
Freezes over.
Stay right there.
Makes it easy pickup.
Yeah.
Okay. So Paul, what else we have?
Well, does anybody have any additional
No, I don't have
comments on the 2 ordinance laws? 2 local laws.
I believe one is for introduction, one's to be
Yeah,
noted.
well, they both been supported in April for introduction. We didn't actually vote on any of these last term.
When I was a kid, you could have dogs
So that's that. I don't know if the chief has anything he wants.
4 was another permit parking request on Park Street. There's a barber shop up there, and I guess the barber shop is stealing all the parking space up there, and one of your constituents contacted, I guess you and I said, well, let me discuss it at the meeting, and I said, if we think that's worthy of permitting that section, maybe that 1 block section by the
That's
shop,
cheap.
so.
Is that Paul's word or?
It's the barber shop is on the west side,
I thought she told me she
second.
talked to you, but anyway.
You know where the old S&D,
Where on Park Street?
you know where the S&D bakery
used to
is?
change streets.
S&D, it's right on the corner of Park.
S&D bakery, it's on the corner of Second.
Yeah, a couple of the homeowners
Yes.
never.
That might be the second ward there, I'm not sure.
Well, you don't have
I got a message. It's relatively recent, but I mean,
Yeah, it's been there a few years now.
Years, but not this
Yeah,
long.
not forever, but yeah. perhaps.
I mean, nobody goes down there much, I don't go down.
It sounds like the same problem that we had on Guy Park Avenue.
Yeah,
We still have that problem.
it's
That's
similar.
still going on.
Yeah, we
No, not, this is the one with Chad was, not the one, this is the one on Division.
Okay.
Oh, that's another.
Really? That's not working?
You get a lot of calls on that one?
Do you? The permit?
You get 1 call on that one from one person.
One call on that one.
They constantly,
On Division?
but I think that problem's been addressed too, because letters
No,
went
this
out
ain't,
to the,
not the Guy Park, this is Division. Okay, excuse me.
Guy
yeah,
Park.
letter, on Division, the letter went to the, or addressed was to the homeowner on that permit to
Oh, okay.
say this permit's being used in violation of the
Yeah.
intended
Okay.
purpose.
I got the call.
And the hospital also got the call, so I think they addressed that with the
This,
employee, and that's gonna end.
Okay, just to bring
Okay.
the 2 new all today. On Division Street, there was a problem of people from the hospital parking in front of other people's houses.
Yep.
So we passed an ordinance that says
Permit parking only.
permit parking only, which it prevented the people who worked in the hospital from parking in front of a person's house. So now we issue permit parking only, so as we were trying on Guy Park, but it was working on Division.
Yep.
So we're having a problem up on Park Street, Dave, where this person has a barber shop, okay? But people park in front of barber shop, but they're also parking in front of everybody else's house, right? So when people come in,
Yeah, can
they have,
I just interrupt you, because if I understand correctly where this barber shop is, it's right at the end of the street,
right,
okay?
not quite.
No, it's the,
I think you're
it's a
right.
block down from where Alex
It has,
is.
if it's the old S&D
Or
bakery,
maybe it's not the S&D bakery, I'm thinking,
I think it's right on the corner.
was it
It's a
S&D
corner lot.
across from Alex?
up
Like
Park
that.
Street, it's the first left, which way you go?
Say that again?
Go up Park Street from Locust. Right past Bright Diesel. It's the first left.
It's by Bill's Beverage, that road.
Yeah.
It's 47,
47.
yeah,
And it is a corner building.
yes.
It's a corner building. but
Most of
it's-
that's like,
it's second
that's, most of that's commercial
Park
property
Street.
around
Yes.
there.
There's no place to park.
Is there enough parking space there for people to park?
Can I research this one?
Yeah, well,
Well, that's what I said, I'll just bring it up tonight as a meeting and we'll toss it around.
Is there enough
We'll make a couple
space to,
places.
You made it to my list.
Is there enough space to,
I can tell you,
people to do
The
parallel?
person that owns the
parking,
barber shop is Ivan Holmes.
You know, to line it so people can park,
So you might want to talk to him.
angle parking there? I mean, it's not a, it's sort of a normally wide street, but across the street is a lot of warehouses
I'll
or...
work out. Garage.
Yeah, and there was a guardrail, we talked about maybe if DPW could run some crusher run, we could park in
Can you
there.
and I just get together, because the person, excuse me, the people who bought out the old throughway warehouse building, I think that's what we're talking about, are pretty nice people.
Yeah.
And I think this can be solved very simply with some conversations.
Asking them to allow some parking over there.
I need to know exactly where it is. I hate, without having all the facts in front of me.
We'll go to the corner of Park and Second Avenue, or whatever.
Then it's the old S&D,
Yeah.
and there is plenty of room to park there.
Well, except across the street from there on Second, now someone's built a warehouse, so you can't even park in front of the warehouse, because there's, big,
We'll try.
you might be able to work it out, yeah. but-
Yeah, I see that big warehouse there.
Yeah, oh, there it is. There's
We will, the other extension was
Where's the other one?
where we have on Division Street on the far west end, to bring that over one more block, because there's some ambiguity there, there's some poor signage, 2-hour parking, 1-hour parking, we're gonna say do the permit one more block over, because there's still hospital employees parking there by the former Dr. Konechny's house, and there's a former convent or a priest's house or something down there.
Are they all okay?
What number is that?
Are they all okay with it over there?
374, somewhere around.
Nejny's on Guy Park, his house is on Guy Park.
374, I think that's where they went, we talked about extending it to, but I'll get you numbers, but
Are
I
they
was just
really
bringing
gonna
it up
walk
to
from
talk.
300 block all the way over to the hospital?
The hospital will, for some reason, they're very resistant, some of the employees, to take, Giulianelli, the president's been more than helpful in this. He's provided them shuttle and off-site parking, and he shuttles them from that parking lot to the hospital, but some of them just want to park their car as close as possible, and then the residents in the neighborhood have nowhere to park. So it's worked, I gotta say, it's worked very well on the west end of Division. Besides that one complaint we get, but the complaint is justified because these people are complaining about somebody abusing that permit. A hospital employee getting a hold of one of those permits and doing what they're not supposed to do, so. Yeah, they were looking at extending that one more block up. And there was one more issue that came up. It was
Will that
about-
extension be on both sides?
Yeah. Two more, okay. The one more I had was commercial property. Jim, did you get a call on this one too? Extending the, the designations of what's allowed on light commercial and residential about temporary parking of vehicles. We keep getting complaints on anybody that has light commercial or residential, or property that's light commercial or industrial, the zoning about, we keep getting complaints when somebody moves cars from one location to another for temporary storage. We get codes complaints saying that this person's violating because it's not right here in
I'm not
the commercial section.
Or where?
Okay, there's somebody from, that owns a business up on Edward Street, or some property up there, was moving vehicles, storing them temporary. We keep getting codes complaints, but I think it's very ambiguous because it's not, we're trying to create a situation where we're not making a junkyard, but if they want to use their property that's zoned commercial or light industrial and put cars up there for 3 or 4
We
days.
went through this, it has to be part of the junk car ordinance, and if it's not a violation of the junk car ordinance, than it is for something else.
Right, so I was looking to add one line into, I'll have to draw up the resolution. Yep,
And what was the other thing we discussed?
I got nothing else.
Exactly, okay?
Yeah, your Sergeant Gifford attended our meeting.
Oh, yes, yes.
I don't know if he
Hand that
filled,
over to Jim so we can read that.
if he filled you in on what we discussed, but we're having some very difficult conversations with DOT because they insist that Church Street is a city street. And they're saying, well, you need to do whatever you want to do. So we've made numerous phone calls. They won't come to our meetings. They keep insisting it is a city street.
I
Okay.
talked to Linda recently, and she said it is a city street, so that gives us the authority to govern speed limits. and
Weight
to-
limits, types of vehicles?
Because the state designates 67, 5, and 30 as truck routes, they have the right to...
No, you're missing the point. It is a city street.
It is a city street.
We had a
by-
major sewer breakdown
Yeah.
because, it's old infrastructure, but you can't take the 26-wheeler pounding. So there will be a resolution coming forth to limit 26-wheelers and anything over 10 ton. I use 10 ton because you gotta allow for local deliveries.
We could do it, we could pass the ordinance and see
I
if the
mean,
state weighs in and...
I've
says
had
that
people
you can't do
calling me
this.
saying, it's been a joy not to listen to the rumbles.
It's gotta be.
I've got a lady, we're gonna have a geologist come in to measure the vibrations caused by these 26-wheelers. We're gonna dig the street up, but we're not gonna fix the infrastructure, we're only gonna, go down 4 feet. There's something wrong with our thinking here. So, as I say, I will be getting together with you, and we will be strictly enforcing the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, which is being broken consistently. And we will come up with signs that are on some,
We had a meeting with the state police 2 weeks ago, new senior new captain at Fonda, and we invited the whole crew. We said, anybody that has time, and the new sheriff, the same conversations, to open this up, just even though it's city limits, city designation, they have full authority from me to go right, do, and they also said the state police talked about bringing in a truck unit, but they said, they'll work with us whatever they can. I gave them, so if you see troop cars there or sheriff's cars in the city, just to keep, anytime they have extra bodies up there, to keep the pressure on that road.
to let you know what's going on, we're talking about a modified roundabout. Because the detour that's in place, like I said, I'm getting phone calls, thank you very much, I didn't do a thing. Okay?
And the same thing last time they closed the road down to do that. It's great not to have traffic going by your house.
Yeah.
That's just, it is what...
And be thankful that the people who are walking up Church Street, because of the way the city plowed the streets, put it all on the sidewalks, yeah, I busted my butt getting it clean. But there are children and adults walking that street, the 26-wheelers going up and down that street. And there's 3 schools in that proximity. So somebody's got a belly to the bar on this one. They have- I'm dead sure it's still going to be a resolution to prohibit 26-wheelers.
And I just think you should clarify that with them. Write to DOT, say, here's the resolution
They
we're
won't
gonna
even
pass.
come to our meetings.
Yeah, but say, here's what we're gonna pass, so they can weigh in, because the last conversation I had with her before this was that it's a state designated truck route, and there's nothing we can do to change it.
But it's a city street.
It is.
So keep your truck route off my city
In
street.
her authority, she says that gives us the right to govern speed
Can I,
limits. and-
can I chime in, because I sat at that meeting?
One of my assistants.
New York's, according to DOT, they said that it can be changed if local and state legislation weigh in, and they can make the change. So we have invited Angelo Santa Barbara, George Amador, and Paul Tonko. They've sat in the first meeting. They can agree also along with the city, and the city has to request it with them to change the law. It can be re-legislated according to Sharon Habor at DOT Region 2. She is the assistant to the Region 2 director. We've done a lot of research and a lot of entertaining it with folks and socializing it and what we can do. I mean, it's really an unsafe situation. Not only is the road, underground infrastructure, as we've seen twice, in bad shape, but with winter and 2 school zones, it's become a public safety hazard and damage to people's homes and quality of life. So we're trying to do what we can do, meeting with people, socializing it. I mean, Dave's been awesome, and whatever I can do to assist. So we're trying to socialize this with people to do this healthy and right. And then we've even talked about with DOT Region 2,
You know that I've written letters.
with DOT Region 2, they have agreed, and you have that report, Chief. Linda sent you a report about your request for the compact roundabout.
Yep.
She said it is, you know, it would be very beneficial. She's agreeing that that's what she would allow us to do.
She would, but she just told me the other day, state funds are not available.
State funds-
Now there's some big giant hole in the state budget of multi-billions of dollars.
There are,
Okay.
there are,
She said her primaries all have to go towards accident intersections, and there's just not enough accident
So-
activity up there to justify a compact roundabout at this time.
her words to me were when they looked at their budget, they could not fit it into their budget till 2021.
Right.
However, DOT is not legally allowed to go to local law legislators and request money. It is not in their realm, their rules and regulations. However, the city and the residents can approach local legislators. Paul Tonko,
Might be a way around it.
Angelo Santa Barbara, and George Amador, and we approached Angelo's office last Friday, and the cost of the compact roundabout is about $300,000 versus like $1 million for a full-fledged roundabout.
And the cost of 4 stop signs is $160.
About $200 a piece.
Right,
We've
and
been asking for 4 stop signs. There are 3 stop signs up there since I took over as chief. I said, let's stop all traffic before it comes into the city on 67, so the trucks stop fully at Clisby, at Widow Susan, and then they start from a dead stop coming down there. No Jake brakes, much slower traffic.
Well, that's another
They
sign, no
refuse-
Jake brakes, so.
Yeah.
the Jake brake decibel is so bad that it vibrates your house on top of it.
I wrote to him, like I said, you have copies of my letters to her.
Yeah, I know, and I've been there on your side, chief. Have I not been making phone calls and seeing how we can
Well, that might
assist you?
be an answer. We'll take any option we can.
I've
Put some
sent-
stop signs off of Rockton Street. Take some of them
The
off.
state is dead set against stop signs.
They're dead set against stop signs.
Stop signs.
Anyway.
I would love a stop sign when I travel across Widow Susan.
We're really screwed.
Because I'm always
Going uphill.
All right, let's, I want to give Chief Whitty a chance, if he has anything he wanted to bring up before we go into.
Well, I got 5 things. I don't know what kind of time
Some
you got.
sidewalks on
See here,
Church
boss?
Street.
Well, go ahead, 'cause we can do the agenda review pretty quick.
Primary seat chief.
Right about Dave, where there's just no sidewalks. Sidewalks there.
Good to see you.
A couple of the bigger ones are, we need to replace 2 vehicles that were already taken out of service and basically scrapped with a new engine, fire engine or bumper. We replaced our old engine 1, which was a 1992 bumper, and our old Rescue 10, which was a 2000 bumper. Those have both been sold at auction for scrap, basically. We bought that used bumper for $20,000 from Mr. Unit. Our 2 frontline trucks now are 10 years old. One of them's back down in the shop now. The other one was the one that broke down at the fire up on Church Street. These trucks are at a point now where if we keep them in a frontline position, they're probably going to be useless in a few years. More cost prohibitive to repair them than they're going to be worth. We really need to replace the pumper soon. The ladder truck we could look at possibly in a few years. Move these trucks into reserve capacity, and you'll get probably another 10 years out of these two trucks. So that's the biggest one, the biggest expense that we're looking at. And this replacement has been on the capital project list since 2014. It's gotten moved back, albeit 1 year we wrote a grant. We tried to get some federal grant money for one, and we were not successful. The other thing, and I emailed Matt as we were going through the budget process for the next fiscal year, was the PPE, which is personal protective ensemble that the firefighters wear. We wrote a grant last year to replace all the sets, and we were unsuccessful in getting it funded. We attempted it again this year. We wrote another grant for the current FEMA grant period. We'll start hearing about these results. They usually start coming back in April or May, but it's a process. We've replaced 11 sets. We haven't received them yet, but we've transferred the money. That was the transfers that we made a few weeks back, a few meetings ago. It leaves us about 11 more, 12 more sets to replace, and that will be the whole department at that point. We'll have been done within the last 3 or 4 years. If the budget,
How much does that cost?
if we did, let's say we were unsuccessful with this FEMA grant again, and we had to replace these, we're looking at about $39,600 to replace the final 11 sets. And the other reason for doing this the way we did it is we broke it up into 3. This would be the third of the replacements, is hopefully we can get on a system here where we can start replacing these a few sets a year. Instead of going, the NFPA standard is 10 years. When your PP is 10 years old, it needs to be taken out of service. What prompted all this was that is I had the turnout gear tested. I was hoping to get a few more years out of it by having it repaired, but you cannot, this company is a third-party company that does this, and they're NFPA certified. They won't repair anything unless they do the hydrostat test on it, which is another NFPA requirement. It tests the quote-unquote, the permeability of the liner that they're wearing against steam and vapor. And that's when we had 9 or 10 sets fail. So that was the first chunk that we replaced last year. The second being the ones, I'm sorry, those are the ones we just replaced that we haven't taken, the order hasn't come in yet. So the money's the money that we transferred a couple of meetings ago. If we do this last 11 or 12 sets this year, either by the grant or by capital project, we will replace them all, and again, we're trying to eliminate getting into that, hitting that wall at the 10-year period and having to buy 33 sets of this gear for, $160,000, $170,000. When we have new hires, usually the budget allows, if I have the money in the budget, we'll buy them a new set when they're hired. So those are all factored into this as well. So that's number 2. Number 3 is the mobile data terminals in the trucks. These are our tablets in the trucks that are linked to the county's CAD system. When a call comes down, we get the call on the screen. We do our NIFRS reporting through that, which is a state reporting. We also have a hydrant map overlaid on that, so when we're responding to a call, our hydrant maps will come up and we can see where the hydrants are. That's especially important this time of year when a lot of the hydrants are buried in snow. If we need to shovel one out, we can start out with a pretty good idea where they are. We also do our mobile inspections with that. When we do our building inspections, we're doing them with these. These are over 10 years old. They're Panasonic Tough Books. They're not supported anymore. They can't be repaired. And if we were looking to replace those, that's about a 7-year PPU on those, and we're looking at probably just under $26,000 to replace them, including the IT that goes along with that. Another one is that we should be looking at within the next year or two is replacing another cardiac monitor. We bought a new cardiac monitor when we bought the ambulance. That was rolled into the lease with the ambulance. The other ones, like the Panasonic Tough Books, are not supported anymore. They're Zoll M series and E series, and they're just not supported anymore. So although they work, they're just gonna start slowing down to the
How much
point
is
where
that?
we're not gonna be able to use them anymore.
How much is that?
A new cardiac monitor is $33,738, so
$38,000?
$33,750. Now, we could lease that for a 5-year lease, and the PPU on that is 5 years as well, but if we did a 5-year lease, we're looking at $677 a month, or times 12, we make a yearly payment.
Okay,
How many?
At least to
how many
own, or
you need
at
of
least to
those?
give back.
Need one more?
No, it's lease to own.
You have one that, newer one with the ambulance?
We have one with the ambulance that this June, July-ish will be
Right.
2 years old.
Right.
We purchased that the season that we bought the ambulance.
So you're looking to replace, to buy, get one monitor, or you need more than?
Well, I would say again, similar to the turnout gear, we have one every 2 or 3 years, and then we can just continue, you know, with that cycle and not have to be faced with all these units that are not going to be productive anymore or supported.
Any grants for that?
We tried with Schenectady Fire Department, and it was a regional grant with multiple departments. We tried twice to get these funded, and we were unsuccessful. 2 years through FEMA.
okay, Chief, I'm familiar with this cardiac monitor.
Yeah.
One, was that open heart surgery, I know it's very important. Matt just passed me over a note, and the ambulance has a lot to do with the revenue, and I think we're over budget, a little bit. So maybe if you can put something together, okay, this thought, they're coming, this exchange of notes, if you can put something together, maybe, I think probably after the new budget, we can put this in. If you can hold out to May,
Sure.
and we can put this, and we can buy it.
Well, again, the turnout gear, hopefully we were successful this year.
But if you don't, because this is equipment of necessity. So I always push that always up to the front. And if we can, just so the people say, well, what are you doing with all your revenue? It goes to this, well, yeah, a lot of it does go to the city. Of course it does, when we budget it. But of course, anything over budget's always used for things just of this nature. If you could put something together for us and give it to the chairman, and maybe we could sit down and figure out how much we need, like, for example, the cardiac monitor is a lease, which we might be able to...
We can lease it or we can buy it.
We can lease that, we can afford that, we have contingency, okay? And the other two items that you talked about, we can discuss, and if you can discuss with the controller and come up with a kind of a payment plan and where we can get the money from. And with Matt, he says we might be able to do something. I think it's a viable project. I don't know how the rest of you feel about it, but I think I would be all for it.
And I'm not sure how we're gonna move forward with the capital projects.
As far as the fire truck,
Well, I've got a 6-year projection that I can send you for capital projects. Projecting out 6 years, you know, with what I need in each year, what I would like to see go in for each year for the next 6 years. So the fire truck can be leased as well, and again, going back to 2014, I did get some projections for leases, so those numbers are 4 or 5 years old now, but I would say we were looking in the range of about 500 to 600,000 in a 7-year lease. The PPU on a fire engine is 20 years, and a lease, again, these are old numbers, so if I tried to adjust without getting some specific numbers from the dealer, which I can't do until we come up with a specific truck, you'd probably be looking in the neighborhood of $60,000 to $70,000 a year for a 7-year lease. Schenectady does it, they're very successful, they're very happy with it, they do it every 5 years. I've already given them we've run our mileage per year on these trucks with 2 of the big manufacturers, and we're pretty confident that we're gonna be okay with a 7-year lease. We still have a truck that's got residual after that 7
You give them back?
What's that?
Give them back as at least owner?
There's 2 ways you can do that. One way is you own it, you're done, 7 years, it's yours. The other way is, it's called a lease buyback. So in other words, we take, we're gonna buy a 2019 Pierce pumper model such and such with this equipment. we give them a rough idea of the mileage we're gonna put on it. They know how it's equipped. We're gonna say 7 years, we're gonna turn this in. When you go to lease this thing up front and buy it, these third-party
Leasing a car.
operations will say, listen, this is gonna have a $150,000 residual, provided it's in
Right, we didn't.
adequate shape.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you use that could be your startup money for its replacement. So in year 6 of a 7-year lease, you go out to bid and spec out a new engine or whichever the case is, and when that truck comes in, that backs in the station, this one pulls out, and you're in business with another one. Yes, sir.
Just a word of, I don't know how true it is. The legislature, in its wisdom, came out and said no more leasing of vehicles, municipal vehicles. They changed and approved it, I think, to 2021,
State legislator?
state legislature. I would check and make sure that they're going to allow municipalities, because they forbade them, to lease municipal vehicles, dump trucks, police cars, fire trucks, and they just reinstated it, so I would say make sure
Yep.
Dave, where'd you hear that?
from the state legislature.
That's a crunch on us, we've been leasing it for
Yeah.
years now.
Yep,
Okay. But that's basically it.
I hope it's false, I really do, but I know they said you couldn't do it, and then they upped it to 2 more years. You tell me, does it expire or what?
Those are the priorities for me.
Okay, within 7 years, do you have a lot of repairs on those things, or?
We just,
No, I mean like for a brand new one, if you had a brand new one in 7 years, do you anticipate a lot of repairs?
hopefully not. I mean, there is a warranty on them. Certain things are warranted longer than others, like Pierce has a pretty good paint warranty, so if there were any corrosion issues, that's got a longer warranty. The drivetrain, we're just starting to get into some heavier dollar
Right, that's what I mean,
repairs.
get rid of it after 5-6 years.
Basically what happens with the 7-year period, the value starts going down and the repairs start going up, so that's the curve right there, that you really want to start doing something with them. And again, these two now, if we could move these into reserve capacity now, it'd extend the life of longevity of those. Running them the way we're running them now, but at their point in their lifetime, it's going to really decrease their life expectancy.
I agree with leasing, so lease all my stuff, give it back, get rid of the
I
problem.
guess we can conclude.
Quick question. I watched you guys do a hell of a job at Church Street Fire.
Appreciate that, thank you.
My one question is, were all the hydrants working
Yep.
properly?
Yep,
Right?
plenty of water.
Hey, did you want to, is that another question you asked me about for fire scenes?
Yeah, I guess, is there a protocol sheet, which I asked the chief, I was getting phone calls about, this is going on, people are going into the house, blah, 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 blah. I won't discuss, you know what I'm talking about. I want a written protocol that the chief has, that every council member has, that you have, the mayor has, that says when there is a major catastrophe, fire, whatever you want to call it, this is the pecking order. You call the police station. Police station does this, this, this. I got handed pillar to post, which to me is totally ridiculous. People are calling me saying there are people going onto that site, which had all that yellow tape that says don't go there. Are they looting or what are they doing? And I tried to figure out what's the written protocol. Do we have one, chief?
Well, I drew up 2 for fire scenes and whatnot like that, so if they're evidence-based, obviously nobody can go in, so we do have one like that, but if it's a fire scene, it's handed over to the fire department.
So when we finish our investigation into the cause and origin of the fire, if it's criminal, we will turn it over to the PD. If it's not, we basically turn that building back over to the owner, so it basically becomes their building again, and it's basically private property again. It will be declared unsafe. Usually we get involved with the insurance companies at that point, because they always are looking to see what we found, and we work in tandem with the insurance company. They are the ones that are going to be paying any bills from that point forward for securing the building, so I always tell the owners, first call you make is your insurance company. For some of the minor fires, they may not think they need to do that, but, you know, the big ones, they're, you know, more obvious, but it's basically a private building again when we're done with it.
No, my main concern is when people call me, and I should have a checklist, okay? Call the chief or call down there, and I don't like the response, well, you gotta call over there. No, I'm calling you. You need to have that protocol in front of you, okay?
Well, if someone's trespassing, you call the police, I would say, no matter what.
I would say the fact that the building was
It's not like
involved in the fire is.
the firemen aren't gonna come over and arrest somebody for trespassing.
Like I
They're
said,
not gonna tackle
basically,
somebody in
it's
the
a
car.
private,
Precisely my point. What is the protocol?
job.
What is the written protocol?
I have another comment about that because I
Well,
remember.
we have to go to an agenda right now.
all right, thank
We'll do
you.
that during our public session, okay?
Thanks, Paul. Okay.
We got any more meetings before 6 o'clock?
Because
They want the language, right?
people watching it.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
No, it's not like
Consent agenda first,
It's recording.
before I go to the meeting. Most of us are probably went over our regular
I created
agenda.
a huge.
So, under number 164 consent.
And then I talked to the
Resolution waiving the 30-day advance notice application for liquor license.
creation.
Just so you want you to read this, what we're doing, why. City of Amsterdam is making application for a liquor license so we can run a golf course in this clubhouse. Excuse me, an application usually requires a 30-day notice. Whereas the license are normally 30 days and we got our license. But because of the short notice and hopefully we're trying to open up the clubhouse sooner, we want to waive that 30-day notice, right, Bill?
Well, basically what it is that when you want an on-premises liquor license, you have to notify the municipality, and they have 30 days to react. But since we are the municipality and we are making the application, we're waiving the 30 days because we don't have to notice ourselves.
Okay.
So that's basically
Does
what
anybody
it
have
is.
any questions? Okay, we'll go to 165 now. Agreement with, now, this is one of those standard agreements that we make with the land bank. I'm out of meeting, I have to call you after, okay? Gotta shut this up. Miss Laura, you turn it back on. Hey, Laura, right with you. So what we have here is we turn over certain properties to the land bank, in which they take over, they rehabilitate, and we give them the properties. And in return, they pick out, well, who picked out these, I think probably the engineer did, these buildings that we're gonna demolish, and they're gonna pay for it. They're gonna pay for this the demolition of all these buildings. So this is like a win-win for us right here. They're paying for this demolition of all these, and you can see the parcels, 20 Union Street, Academy Street, Vine Street, I looked at that one, that's a nice one. Wall Street, and all these are coming down. Okay, so that's what this is, but you need a contract. They can't do it without a contract, so you'll see right behind here, cooperation agreement and a contract, authorizing the mayor to sign it. Okay? Yes.
Counselor, have you had a chance to look at this agreement at all?
I have not. Not yet.
What would be the effect if we did nothing with it and gave you the chance, and then we can have a special meeting after you review it, so we know that what you've done, we can actually do?
I don't think that's a problem.
So we don't need it as a consent?
What do you mean on the agenda?
Yeah. I would like you to look at it for,
Yeah, okay.
Over there, there's some for that, that's all.
okay,
That's
that's easy.
we can move it, some for that.
Yep.
And we don't vote for it on consent, that's all. Okay? We can just remove that one there. Just, for all of you, just remove the 165, we're gonna remove it. It's not gonna be added to the consent. Okay? Okay, now we're gonna go under, resolution 159. 159, adopting the minutes of the last common council meeting. So I'll take that. The next resolution,
Oh, I have it. You need a copy.
next resolution 160. Okay, there's a new canopy that is needed down at the River Lake Park. Okay? And the last one was repaired 10 years ago. So this is a new one. So we're gonna transfer money from code enforcement, which is $4,975, and we're gonna transfer it over into contractual to pay for it. Any questions?
This isn't the canopy over at the state. That's not.
No, this is the canopy where people eat, where their little cafe.
Oh, that, with a deck.
Where the little deck is, that you look outside and watch the boats go by.
Right.
All right?
Why are we taking funds? First of all, I don't understand the entry. You're increasing revenue in code
Well,
enforcement.
that's another question. Wait, well, how about, we'll walk the resolution itself. You want to know what?
The codes that are being used here.
That's because I believe it's over, we over budget, it's extra money.
In where? Code
The
enforcement.
code enforcement fees.
So, in that department that has code enforcement, they don't have any other lines that are under.
There's no line, just so you know, there's nothing budgeted on the River Lake Park in our budget. So if you want to go look for a line item on the River Lake Park, you're not going to find it.
Why?
We don't have it.
But why? Why don't we have one? That's our park,
It's our park, yes.
and we don't budget anything for the park.
For Parks and Recreation, being that it's a private contract, it's under Parks and Recreation, under the Recreation Department. And that's who's sponsoring the department. You see it, recommending.
So they don't
budget.
have funds in their own accounts to
Well, it's
transfer?
not earmarked River Lake Park.
Right.
It's earmarked recreation budget. So you tell me how recreation is in charge of the River Lake Park, that's another good question. Okay? So there's no money in there. River Lake Park has no budget. Listen, now, when we become, this year, when we do the budget, this year, if you want to introduce line items for that, you can go right ahead and we'll finance it.
So anything that happens down there, how does it get fixed?
How does it get fixed? It comes
And
under,
repairs.
it comes under recreation budget right now,
Well, that's where the money should be transferred from to cover this,
under their budget,
under their budget.
under their line item.
Why would you take money out of code enforcement?
I believe it's because it's extra.
Because that's excess of what was budgeted, and at this point in the year, recreation hasn't hit their revenue mark, so you can't take money from there, because you don't know if you're gonna get it all.
But I still don't understand, why are you moving money out of revenue? I don't understand. How
We're
are
not
you
moving money
increasing?
out of revenue, we're increasing the revenue line to account for the fact that we've taken in more than we budgeted, and offsetting that with the expense of the canopy.
The line
I think
item,
we always have this conversation
I
every
think
time we
we- I
make this
think we
entry.
do.
And the entry just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. Because if if the line has more money in it, that's wonderful. That goes against your fund balance when you're closing. You're not supposed to be spending.
In a perfect world, you're absolutely right.
So, but this is a recreational expense. This has nothing to do with code enforcement revenue.
let me ask this question. In the recreation department, the way the budget is run, money comes in, money goes out.
Right.
Okay. I don't feel comfortable taking money out of a line item in the recreation if I don't know if I have enough money in it.
Then we shouldn't be buying the canopy if we don't have the
Well-
money.
We have the money.
No, we
Oh,
don't.
yes, you do. You have the money on the code enforcement fees because we over.
That's a totally
over.
different department.
So
Why are
what-
you transferring?
So what shall we do? What do you suggest we do?
Find out what recreation has
We
to
just,
cover the expense.
want to take out recreation and cover the
It's a
expense?
recreation expense.
So what shall we do with the $40,975?
You leave it there.
We'll leave it there
Yes, sir.
for a rainy day?
leave it right in that revenue line. You don't spend it because you got it. That's extra funding.
So I'm gonna take money, you want me to take money from a recreation department out of a
If
line,
they have-
which I don't know
they
if I
have
even have
enough.
enough money in there to pay
Well, we
for.
have to ask them then, because the park is a recreation item.
And we don't have any line on,
If they don't have any money, then we should not be spending this money.
this is not, there's not even a line item, there's not even a line item in the budget
I
that
understand.
says River Lake Park.
I
I
understand
think
that.
you would feel a lot better if you said, let's take money from the River Lake Park line item, wouldn't you?
No, I'm saying you're not taking, you shouldn't be spending, because the revenue line, you've got more revenue in code enforcement, doesn't mean that we have to spend it. If we don't have the money in recreation to cover this expense, then we shouldn't buy the item now. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
Of course you would. What do you suggest?
Do it the right way.
What is that?
If it is a recreation expense, which, tell me if it isn't. Is it a recreation expense?
You consider River Lake Park recreation?
It's a park.
It's a park. So that's where you're gonna pay it from. So you've gotta have a budget. If not, you did a bad budget.
Well, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to create a budget this
No,
year.
I'll give you an opportunity. You can take it out of some department's salary expense.
We are doing that right now. We are taking it out of a department. We're taking it out of code enforcement.
I said salary expense,
What's the difference on a salary expense? and code
because your
enforcement
expense stay constant in your total budget.
fee? I'm gonna take it out of the I'm gonna take it out of my salary, which is budgeted for $5,000 a year. How's that sound? That make sense to you? Take it out of my salary expense. And then at the end of the year, there's no money in that line item. That way we do.
Correct.
Can I ask,
Let's move on.
code enforcement fees are
Jim,
what?
6
It's
o'clock.
money that we collect from,
We're gonna move on. There's our two contractors. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Russo.
Here.
Alderman Opel.
Here.
Alderman Collins. Here. Alderman Divas.
Present.
Alderman Marticello.
Here. Okay, make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Just adding consent 164. 165.
Alderman Divers makes a motion to adopt the agenda.
Alderman Divas.
Aye.
Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderman Russo. Alderman Opel.
Aye.
Alderman Collins. Aye. Agenda as amended. Alderman Divas.
Aye.
Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderman Russo.
Aye.
Alderman Opel.
Aye.
Alderman Collins.
Aye.
Okay, any communication or presentation? Okay. Public participation, I ask you to come up to the podium, state your name. You may speak for 5 minutes, please.
John R. Chetwood, 18 Austin Street. Jim, I mentioned for the last couple of years 452 Locust Avenue. The reason I'm bringing that up is the fact I saw in the paper yesterday there was some kind of, I don't know, if it's $500,000 that can go for projects to help people's homes. Now, I don't know how you go about that, but if you ever drove by there or walked by, you know that the home is in real rough shape. It needs a roof, there's no porches there, and I don't know how people can live. There's kids living in there. and that- it's a-
Got the yellow house, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's yellow, yeah. And it's a 452, 454. It's a two-family home. So it needs a lot of work, and maybe we can help them individuals out by getting them a roof and maybe a porch and stuff, because if there's a fire, you have to open up the door and you jump out onto the front yard because there's no porches. So I was wondering if you can check into that. Another thing is, it might be a little bit different, but code enforcement. the fire department recently got involved in the ambulance things. I don't know how many code enforcement officials we have, but a lot of the people are ignoring them. Now, maybe the fire department has more authority, and if they were involved in code enforcement, maybe some of these violations would be taken care of if they were involved in code enforcement. Now, sometimes with a merger, I'm not saying get rid of the people that we had, but have a merger type of a thing, and maybe things could get a little bit better. The mayor stated to me that they got the one guy, Mosi here, there's a bunch of code violations for properties that he's involved in, and like that. So if they're ignoring, the people say, what do I care about code enforcement? Maybe they'll think more of the fire department stepping in rather than some people saying, who the heck is code enforcement? I don't know these people. And maybe things can get done there. Now, another thing is, thanks to Dave, you need some sidewalks just above your residence and like that, okay? I mean, I paid $1,200 to get my sidewalk fixed, and maybe they gotta put some sidewalks over in your area. I mean, I could be wrong, but it might be easier to maintain grass than the sidewalk. Okay, so at one time, the city, once again, was the cheapest out of the three, between the city, county, and the school district when it comes to taxes. Now we're the highest. Now you got an $8 million deficit. Why are you coming to me when I pay my taxes on time? Why is it my fault? And then you can sit there, I can call up on the talk shows, or they can discuss it over here, and they say, it was doggone Ann Thane's fault. But nobody addresses Ann Thane. The paper doesn't go to Ann Thane and say, what's going on? You know, I mean, I think sometimes you gotta do that. She should be held a little bit responsible, at least come over and say, what is the problem? If we have this attitude of, well, we have an election, this person's doing a lousy job, we'll just vote them out, and nothing gets done. I think some of these people in the past administration, we should go after and demand to know what's going on, and what happened, what went wrong, and so we can hear it, and so they can at least say what went wrong and defend themselves a little bit. And for this, you know, and it's a terrible situation. But like I say, I pay my bills on time, Jim. I own a home. I maintain my home, and I've been paying taxes since 1991. And I don't think it's my fault that we're $8 million deficit, if that's correct. And like, you know, when Dave thought it was $5 million deficit, we had a couple of the aldermen who aren't aldermen anymore. Oh no, it can't be that. But this attitude of just, well, we voted the people out, we think that this person wasn't doing a good job, and that's it. I don't like that. We should go after these people in the past administration and have them speak, because they're being talked about anyway. You know, Ann Thane has to know that people are wondering, you know, what happened? What happened for 8 years? So that's how that is. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
I have one thing.
Step up, name?
Hi, Cheryl Lansall, 233 Church Street. Just the lessons learned. I think they did an awesome job on the fire and you know, taking care of the victim. However, when they shut the road down, they should have actually shut the road down up before you enter Church Street. They should have never shut it down only a couple blocks away, because there were several trucks with the snow having to be towed and having to get jockeyed around, tractor trailers, 26-wheelers. The next time something this catastrophic happens and you know you're in a truck travel pattern, shut the road down before you come into the city for safety. You know, it's nothing the fire department, but you know, lessons learned, please try to do that, because it was a nightmare on our road above. And my husband actually had to show a few people how to get around and stop traffic so trucks could back up. It was a huge nightmare. So we needed to do something a little bit more safe. So that's my take on the lessons learned.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is David Kamula. I live on Brookside Avenue. And I just have a quick comment on something maybe you can fix. Down by the mall, where you go underneath the bridge, that spot there, there's so many potholes, and they've been there for years.
That's Washington Street, right there.
I don't know what.
I know, I was there, behind them all.
Yeah.
And you're right, exactly.
And then you go, you know, it's only maybe 50 yards, and then it turns good, so.
It's behind the mall, right behind the
Yeah.
dialysis and all that.
That's all I-
I put that down. Thank you very much. Thank you, David.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. Agenda. Snow report?
Anybody have any questions? Okay, not much to report at this point. All department heads have submitted their budgets, which I'm going to start meeting with them to put it together so we can go to the mayor. We got the auction on February 18th for the leftover properties. 8:30 is registration, 10 o'clock is the auction itself. Hopefully we'll be out of there early afternoon.
Where is it now?
What's that?
At the mall?
No, here.
Right here.
Yeah, it'll be downstairs.
Okay.
The auditors were out, they got pretty much everything they need. I'm waiting for some documentation from ESC on a couple of emergency loans that we had for work that was done, that I've got to get to them, but other than that, they were out, they did their field work, they've got all the things they need, so hopefully they'll be able to get that audit done by the March deadline, which we would need. That's really it, unless anybody else has any questions.
Thank you. Did you schedule anything for the auction for the surplus?
No, I wanted to get through, we were looking at probably sometime in March, the last discussion I had with Randy, but no, I was focused on the property auction, getting that done, and then making sure that when I do give him a list of everything we want to sell for surplus, it's actually inclusive of everything that we want to get rid of, so we're not leaving anything laying around.
So March, April?
Yes.
David?
Two things. Let me set the record straight, because I keep hearing Chet say that the Amsterdam taxes are the highest, higher than the county. They've always been the lowest, going all the way back to 2004 and 2005. According to my tax bills, I paid less city tax than any school or county tax. So wherever that comes from, your office puts out the tax rate. I don't know where people get this from. We are the lowest.
They add in the user fees.
It's not a tax.
I understand that, but that's where that comes from.
Gotcha. Second item, what Chief Woody was saying, it would be nice if you would prepare a financial statement, just for the ambulance. A financial statement that will make it easy. Your 1718 AUD was filed,
Yeah.
so we can possibly within the next week or next month, first meeting in the next month, get a financial statement for that period of time, for the ambulance service.
In what respect?
All expenses. In other words, what it costs to run the ambulance service, what they've received in revenue.
I have that.
I want it out of Matt's office. He's the controller, he's responsible for that. And I think that should be part and parcel of every meeting we have, to say exactly where we are with that. I mean, Matt's been kind enough to supply the revenue reports and the expenditure reports, fine. I'd like to see it for the ambulance.
Okay.
If you have to work with the chief, guys get together. I want to find out for sure. And since we're 6 months and, actually 7 months into the new year, it would be nice to see where we are in 18-19 for the ambulance. So we can talk intelligently about a lot of things with the ambulance and the fire department. Thank you.
Any other questions for the controller? Okay. The agenda.
Resolution 159, resolution adopting minutes of the last common council meeting by Alderman Marticello.
So moved.
Any discussion? Alderman Marticello?
Aye.
Alderman Russo.
Aye.
Alderman Opel.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins. Alderman Davis. Resolution 160, resolution amending budget for recreation by Alderman Marticello.
Let's read the whereas clause.
Whereas a new canopy is needed for Riverlink Park.
So moved.
Any discussion? Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderman Russo.
Aye.
Alderman Opel.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins.
No.
Alderman Davis.
No.
Resolution 161, resolution transferring funds for fire. This is a correction by Alderman Opel.
Read the whereas clause, please.
Whereas the Amsterdam Fire Department has and completed various repairs on their fleet, which has resulted in depletion of the vehicle repair line.
So we're depleted the vehicle repair line. Okay.
So moved. Didn't we pass a resolution in the last meeting to
Yeah,
cover
it
this?
had an incorrect line number in it, so they said you had to redo it.
Okay.
No, that's nothing different, it's just got the accurate number now.
All right.
Could we just add in that, do we have to rescind the prior resolution, would be my question, Counselor?
I don't think so. I'm just gonna amend it.
Well, doesn't say that really, does it?
We're introducing the resolution. Wouldn't that supersede the old one?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
When you introduce the new resolution, I believe it supersedes the old one.
Okay.
All right, so moved.
Alderman Opel.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins. Alderman Davis.
No.
Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderman Russo.
Aye.
Resolution 162, resolution transferring funds to the controller by Mayor Villa. Resolve the controllers authorize to transfer funds from the 2018-2019 budget to cover the settlement of legal action brought against the city of Amsterdam.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Call the roll.
Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderman Russo.
Aye.
Alderman Opel.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins. Alderman Davis. Resolution 163, resolution approving audit by Alderman Opel.
So moved.
Any discussion? Alderman Opel.
Aye.
Alderwoman Collins. Alderman Davis. Alderman Marticello.
Aye.
Alderman Russo.
Aye.
We have one consent, right? Okay, go ahead.
Consent resolution 164, resolution waiving 30-day advance notice of application for a liquor license for golf by Alderman Marticello.
Let's read the resolve clause.
Resolve the city of Amsterdam waives receipt of 30-day advance notice of application for the liquor license to the city of Amsterdam.
So moved.
Any discussion? Alderman Marticello.
Wait,
I got a
wait,
question.
wait.
I got a question. This has to do with golf course and what you're trying to do. We are in the deficit. This golf course and this, we have to hire more people. We want to increase our liability getting a liquor license for the golf course. I don't understand what the plan is. How is this going to create revenue? It hasn't been presented to us on what the entire plan is to create revenue.
Alderwoman, there was a golf budget meeting every Monday. Were you aware of that?
No,
You didn't get a notice
no,
on the calendar?
I'll have to check it.
It's on the calendar. These are questions that you're bringing in front of the commission if you want your answers. I can tell you, being on the liaison, I'll tell you what the answer is. We're looking for areas and how to generate revenue.
I got that.
Well, if you have that, then why you
But
ask?
how are you going to you want to create, you're already losing money on it.
Okay,
Now you're going to hire, how many people are going to be hired?
okay.
And-
I'll try to answer the question the best I can according to the Golf Commission. The last 14 years, the concessionaire at the golf course has generated a profit from anywhere from estimates $30,000 to $100,000. Or else that person would not be in the concession business if they did not generate a profit. The golf course is trying to generate some avenue of revenue. Greens fees, cart fees, membership fees. So they're looking for one extra avenue. So the experience says concessions make money. So past experience, what they've decided to do is go into the concession business. And hopefully, that'll generate enough revenue so they can stay in business, if not, and hopefully keep the golf course afloat. They're looking at a 2-year plan, hopefully, and that'll do it. Does that answer your question, I hope? No? Well, then I don't know what else I can tell you.
We'll have to talk about it more. I don't
Well,
think-
I mean, we wish,
We are a city. We are not here to run a concession stand, a bar. We are here to protect the tax dollar. The
and I
golf
wish you
course
would.
has been losing money all along.
I wish
How
you had
are you
developed-
hiring? You're gonna hire city employees or you're gonna hire contractors
It should be city
to run the
employees.
concession?
City employees,
So you're gonna have to hire people that know how to handle food.
that's correct.
What kind of salary? They're not gonna be a low salary. They have to be experienced to run a concession.
I would
And
hope,
food,
yes. That's
and
why-
bartenders. So you're talking a lot of money here.
And all that was discussed when we hired the golf pro, Kevin Canali, who came from a very successful golf course, which he ran.
I have no problem with what you did. All I have a problem is the amount of money we're pouring into this golf course when we're faced with a deficit, and we have to figure out how we're gonna handle that first.
And I wish Alderwoman Collins, you would attend one of these meetings, because I know the golf commission would be open to any suggestions that you have and how they could raise money to offset that deficit. And if you have any suggestions, any alderman, any of us here, if you have any suggestions, I think the place to do it is at the golf commission, because they would like to hear that. And I'm sure, being that I've been to many of the golf commission meetings from the start, and I've heard it from the ground on how they want to generate revenue, this is one of the ideas on how they want to generate revenue. I'm sure we're running out of options. You know, if this doesn't work, hopefully, the fee structure, the way it's set up, and the fact that they're going to run the clubhouse, and hopefully we have someone in there who's a professional and knows what they're doing, it'll be a project that is going to be successful. I don't believe anybody would like to get involved in business that they think right from the beginning they're going to lose money. So I think the option here is we're going to do this, create a liquor license, he has a lot of options. He has parties, birthday parties, he has different type of events scheduled, which requires liquor. And nothing generates more revenue than liquor. So hopefully, this is an idea that will be brought about for 2 years at least, and we can generate the revenue, and hopefully we look at it at the end of the year and see what happens as far as our decision that was made. Okay? Yes, Alderman.
We recently had a presentation from Municipal Solutions. I don't think this one gets past the state and their test of what Municipal Solutions said that we have to do. So I gotta go with what they have related to me in talking with cities that have gone through deficit financing. I think this is a bridge way too far. But
When that gentleman sat right there,
Yep.
I don't recall you asking that question to him.
No, I asked him later.
Well, why didn't you ask him that day so we all could hear it?
You could have asked him.
I don't want to ask him, you're the one that's more interested. I would have been interested if you asked
Because I
him.
went through it with the city of Troy, when Mitch Carver had to go down and run it, okay? I know what's gonna be coming with deficit financing, and it's not pretty.
Do you have any,
So, all I can say is, if you want to do this, the council wants to do this, go for it. It's still gonna have to pass state muster, because when they look at this, I don't know what their comment is gonna be. I hope they approve it.
Okay.
When you're saying when they look at what, though?
You're gonna have to put together a 5-year plan with projections. And if it don't work, what do you do?
Okay, so you're not talking about the liquor application?
I'm talking about the concept of deficit financing.
Okay.
All I can say is if you're gonna have anything, it better show an immense profit the first year. An immense.
Are we talking about this resolution, Dave, or something else?
We're discussing what this resolution is going to do, okay? Because you just can't, if we get municipal financing approval, you just can't submit your budget to be done with it. The paperwork is unbelievable. As long as you have all those documents, great. That's the end of the story.
Now, if this does become successful, you will be the first to say it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know how this helps having one person run the entire operation, where before it was three separate people running that. So no one worked together very effectively. So now there's one person overseeing the entire operation of the course.
The numbers have to hang together. And it's not going to be
You can
me
make
that
big money in
decides that.
restaurants.
It's going to be the state of New York, okay?
Okay.
If you think you're going to get that past their muster,
Well, we'll see.
let me
You're talking
know.
about the waiver of 30-day period, is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the golf course in
Well,
general.
we went off.
Yeah, all right, it's fine.
First, we started,
Was there a,
with the waiver.
commission meeting last night?
Yes, there was a meeting Monday. Okay, and just to give you some bad news, there was a water break up there today. A very serious water break.
Up
In the
on
bathrooms
Walters?
and the clubhouse.
Oh, at the clubhouse?
Yeah, and we're gonna submit that to the insurance company. Okay? I thought I shared that with you. I'm back to wrong. Here. Okay, do we have any other questions on this resolution on a 38-day advance notice of application? Okay, call the roll.
Alderman Marzell?
Aye.
Alderman Russo?
Aye.
Alderman Oklo?
Aye.
Alderman Collins?
No.
Alderman Divas?
No,
So we have introduction to the local law.
Did we have, we took the other one.
We took the one off, so
Yeah.
basically, the local law amending chapter 73 articles for dog license by Alderman Ockel, and other local law, we're saying resolution about language in the dog lanes, okay? Okay, that concludes our agenda. Are there any committee reports that you'd like to discuss? Any aldermen, have any committee reports? All right.
I'd like to go into executive session
Okay, Alderman, we were just notified by our corporation counsel, I need to go into executive session due to litigation, pending litigation. Okay? Okay, Alderman Davis.
Alderman Divas?
I'll go.
Alderman Divas?
aye.
Alderman Marticello?
Aye.